Okay. Well, we're continuing on here with some stories with Grandpa, and now this is a story that Dad had told me about, and I wanted to ask you about it. But it's about your dad and his friend frailing pecans and being rather mean while doing it.
Oh, you want to hear the story about Baird Russell? Baird wasn't presidential material for far. He was pretty far gone mentally. But he was a big old boy. And he was related to Bob. His mother was a cousin to Granddad Stockton. And his Baird's dad, I believe, no, Baird's grandpa, and another was Granddad's uncle. And them two uncles of his and Granddad loaded they've rented a boxcar, loaded all their gear and their horses. I'm sure they each one had a pack horse and a riding horse and all their necessary gear, and left Clark, Missouri, up in north central Missouri. Came to Guthrie, Oklahoma, and then rode up in the Strip and picked out 3 farms. And I think they were all 3 suitors. But anyway, Granddad, they all got farms. And they was good farms. Granddad's farm was Cracker Jack. And then the one uncle got what Betty and I lived on, farm for 9 years, right there across the road east from the Moncrief place where we lived. And that was Granddad's was just to the west of that where we lived. And then the other uncle got one up there, well, just a mile north, and on the east side of the section, just as flat. Oh, if it's real wet summer, you didn't do much, because the creek had flooded. But it was flat and it was rich soil. And that's where the Russells lived up, and Dad's grandpa's cousin Lottie married a fellow named Jim Russell. But anyway, they'd all moved on, died off. But Baird lived somewhere up around Billings. And these folks, Jim Russell, that was his dad, Lottie was his mama. She was an odd little woman. And Uncle Wayne always said they had a door in their house, in Granddad's house. They'd come down there. They didn't have any other relation, you know. And had a door that's out from the wall a little, and you open the door, make a little triangle. Baird was a kid. Well, Wayne swore Baird could stand flat-footed. She was a little woman. Come over there and he was still sucking tit. But anyway, Baird had got up out near grown. And this was before a lot of us kids was born. Martin and Irma lived what we called the old Crotcher place. Mile south of Sears, and a mile east, and a mile south of the southeast corner of that intersection. It had some bottom and fields. Well, probably still does. And Anyway, some pecan trees. Martin and Herman invited all the family down for a Sunday get-together. And after they ate, they'd go pecaning. So Dad Martin was up in the tree. They told him, now stay back till we get back. Quit frailing because dead limbs will fall and things. It's dangerous to be hunters. Us up there climbing around, frailing. But Dad looked down and seen Baird and his shirt tail was out. There was a spot between his belt and up a ways. So Dad picked a green pecan and threw and hit that bear's skin, and Dad could throw hard. Baird wouldn't even flinch. He was a picking pecans. Dad punched Martin off over there, got his attention with the pole. Showed Martin and threw one. He was a German. He was more determination than him and the average person. He told Hans, he said, I'll make him flinch. Dad said we run out of green pecans and Baird was still.
I could tell the colors when they would hit. He said it would just.
Oh, yeah. Just red spot raised up or a white first and then red just fan out over. He never flinched or looked up.
He just thought that was part of it. And I don't know, but a green pecan hull is hard and they're sharp at the ends. They would hurt like everything.
Dad and Martin could both throw hard.
Because they played baseball a lot, so.
Glenn and I had Daisy May, and I've got that picture someplace of a big, Baird's folks, Lottie and Jim and Baird. He was the only one they had. That was a blessing. If they'd all been like him. But anyway, we had that roan heifer broke to lean, had the harness for her, but we could not ride her. Of course, we had her up and showing the other kids. Uncle Roy's bunch was there, and Wayne's and Martin's, and well, the whole Stockton tribe. Bunch from Kansas, and Blanche and Ruth and their first husband, I can't call his name right now. Anyway, they're all in that picture, all the men folks. But Baird said, well, boys, the way you can ride her. She stands still for you to get on. Just turn backwards, put your heels in her neck and hold on to her flanks. She can't throw you off. So I tried it. Well, she'd get hump and every time she did, my chin would hit her backbone. It's a wonder it didn't knock her out. Oh, I learned then not to listen to Baird. One piece of advice from him was enough. Oh, Baird was something else.
Well, okay. Next thing I was going to ask you about was, your dad, so my great-grandpa, getting gifts for, me and Betty.
Well, it wasn't just for her, but she was the one he came to. He had a daughter right there in Blackwell. But for several years, I don't know how many, he'd come to Betty. I know the first one. He said, Betty, what is it you'd really like to have for Christmas? Oh, Hansel, I need a new refrigerator. Yeah, I think we could do that. And he'd give each kid that much money that it cost, like Betty, get, back then, $300-400, give each kid the same amount. Instead of going to his daughter, he went to Betty. And then it was after we built. I know the winter we built, Dad was talking to Betty. He'd been talking to our carpenters who were building the house. He was worried about us having a Frady home, the cellar. And he talked to them about how much. And he said, Betty, what is one thing you'd like to have for Christmas? She said, oh, Hansel, we need a cellar for, we called them Frady home when thought the storm was going to get us, go hide. Well, we could do that. And I think it was $500 he gave each kid that year. Then in a year or two he came. Well, Betty, it's about Christmas. What do you think you'd like to have for Christmas? Oh, Hansel, I want a piano so bad. Ooh, little girl, I don't know. That things is expensive. Go price them. So we went to Eden, to some music stores, got prices, what she liked. We tried to hold it as cheap as we could, and come back and told him, I don't remember, between $700 and $800 it seemed to me like. And now, son, he said, I was thinking $500 or $600. Could you stand the rest? Yeah, Dad, I can stand the rest. Either way, $500 or $600. Well, I don't remember whether he gave us $500 or $600, but each of the 4 kids got the same amount. Then they delivered it. We went back to Eden. She bought it. And they delivered such and such time. Oh, and of course, I was there at the house, making sure to be there. Walt Berthan came, Dad's brother, and visited, and here come the piano. Well, Walt Berthan was ready to leave, but Walt, he was a worker, oh, he could work. And he wanted to see him move that piano in, which to them, it wasn't no trick at all. They got it in, and I'd ask Walt questions, something about his farm or this or that, and he'd stop and talk. Well, Betty wouldn't start playing until they left. Then I'd have another question lined up. When they finally left, I got a scolding like it. Ooh, she was upset at me. 'Cause I kept, she knew what I was doing.
She was wanting to play that piano.
That brand new piano. Oh, she would. Oh, why I
She
do that.
put many hours into that piano.
She enjoyed it.
When she was upset and things going bad, you knew as you're walking up to the house, 'cause she'd be pounding that ivory. I mean, she'd be hammering on it. And if she was happy, she would be playing. That's the way she calmed down a lot. She'd
Yes.
sit at that piano and just.
It'd take it out on it.
But if you come in and she was hitting them keys hard, you knew she was mad about something. Or you'd come in, she'd just be playing
Normal.
and just, she loved to play that piano. You'd come in and Edward would be over and they'd be getting ready for Sunday morning and they'd be singing and everything. Mom would be playing the piano and Edward singing. Or they'd both be singing, really. But
Yeah, she loved to sing.
that was that's just the way it was.
Well, Barbara Barker, our pastor, that married Betty and I. Well, I had that Ford pickup. Of course, four of us couldn't hardly ride in it, but Barker would have some kind of a car. And I'd go by and get Betty, and then they'd had that little bitty parsonage there at the Sarah church. And we'd go by and say, "You want to go on a date with us?" "Oh, yes." Well, he'd furnish a car. Betty and I in the back seat, and the preacher and his wife in the front seat. We were chaperoned by the pastor and his wife. And of course I had to buy him some gas. I know that spring early. Old him and then we got a spring ring, 3 55-gallon barrels in the trailer. The pump and the boom about, maybe 30 feet. And he had just had an appendix operation and he couldn't drive a tractor right. But he said, "I'll handle the pure poison." And he had a mask for me, so I wouldn't breathe the fumes. So he gave me 25 cents an acre to drive a rig. Well, some days we could get 100 acres. I made $25 back in the early 50s. Ooh, if you worked any place else, it was $5 a day or 75 cents an hour. So that $25, ooh, I was in the chips that spring. So we'd go out, and I'd buy him quite a bit of gas. Then we'd go to the movie. After the movie, we'd go somewhere to get treats, balls, or whatever everybody wanted. Then he'd take us back to his apartment, parsonage. Betty and I'd get in the pickup. I'd take
So
her.
would you go to Perry or would you go to Tonkawa or?
Well, one or the other, Ponca City, didn't matter. Just
Okay,
come
I'm just
in
kind of
different
curious
ways.
on that. Because I see it there at Sears, it's about as broad as it is long to Tonkawa or Perry.
Yeah. 13 miles to Perry and 14 to Tonkawa. So take your choice. But he was gaining on, he was getting to go to a movie, him and his wife, getting some treats,
And getting gas.
getting some gas. That was the big thing to him. Oh man, him and I had experiences. One time, Willard White, carpenter, member of our church, he was our Sunday school superintendent. Oh, he was a prince of a guy. I never worked with anybody that I enjoyed working with like Willard. He taught me so much about carpentry. I know I graduated from high school in '48. That after we got the wheat sowed that fall, folks put in the bathroom. Had Willard remodeling the house, fixing. I dug the septic tank hole and all the lateral lines. We had that old well up with the road. I dug the line 2 spade depths, spade and a half wide. From that up there across the driveway, laid all that line, steel line, down to the basement. Then plumbed it into everything. And then we laid them laterals. We went up on Hank in the slough. I farmed that, knew what was in the slough bed. but off of the cue ball and there above is washed a little gravel. So we go up there with the tractor and trailer, work our way down into the slough bed and shovel that gravel on the trailer, then get out of there and come back and shovel it off, put some in the barn, in the ditch, then lay the tile, and then put gravel around the tile and bury it. Now that's a lot of shoveling.
Yeah, it sounds
And
like it.
that was all Orly's work. And then I helped in the house. Oh, we worked that winter. But I really enjoyed working with Willard. But then, this was before Benny and I was married. We married in 51. Had to be that summer. Yeah, it was. It was early. Before harvest. Willard had something wrong. We didn't know anything about it, or I didn't. Grace took him to Oklahoma City to get some kind of surgery. And he died. Just, oh man, he was 44 years old. And so Barker was there. And I come in from a date with Betty, and the yard was full of cars and men. Barker, well, he wasn't taking Betty and I that night. It was a Saturday night. But Grace White had called and wanted Barker to come. The men of the church had gathered together there. I don't know. But when I drove in and seen all that, I thought one of the folks had died or something. You know, you startled you.
Yeah.
10, 11 o'clock at night. And now Willard White died, and she wants Lester down there. He wants you with him. So we just clubbed his car and away we went. Got down about Guthrie or a little farther. I said, Barker, you got any money? No, I figured you'd have plenty. Well, I had $5 or $6. Was gonna need gas. And there's no way you go rent a motel and eat anything. And so we slept in the car. It wasn't very long till morning after we done all that. And went back to see Grace. She was at some relative's house. And then headed to, we just didn't eat much breakfast. We had to buy our gas first. You two men don't eat much on about $3, even back then. But we drove into Sears and, oh man, I think they was still at the church. They didn't have much church. It was just, everybody was so tore up about Willard had died. But I'll tell you, and then another time with Barker, he was related to the Sanders up in Marlin, over there in the Bressing community, Bar Hill. They, Ivel and Embry-Dale and Henry was the three brothers. They'd all bought some 101 ranch land when the government took it over, you know. They all had some Salt Fork River, so we went up there and Harry Cassell, my future father-in-law, Barker and me, camped out all night and set crop lines. And Barker and I both laid down and went to sleep. Harry was sitting there at the campfire, I guess. He wouldn't walk very close in August. Anyway, past midnight sometime, he woke us up. said, I think you boys ought to go run the trot lines. So of course we was both naked. He was going out a little in front of me, and that river water's a turning all the time. It's the temperature of the air. And it was kind of cold. You get in that water. Barker was a few feet in front of me. I just a big double handful of water up his backside. Oh, he screamed and hollered. He said, you could have caused me to have a heart attack, that water's so cold. That's how I treated my pastor. I don't think we caught any fish, but I had a real good laugh.